This is the Strat-O-Matic Baseball Excel 1970-73 Carryover League. Brought to you by the Shrimp Trawler YouTube channel.
Well, welcome back, baseball fans, to the 1970-73 Summer Carryover League. We got the big enchilada tonight, folks. The National League Championship Series. We believe the two best teams in Strat-O-Matic for this timeline based on the past few years. The defending world champion New York Mets against the Cincinnati Reds, a team who went to the World Series a couple years ago and lost. Teams that played in the 70s, 72 and 73 World Series. It's got plenty of history. Of course, you know, we are mixing years, so it could not be a faithful recreation of any previous matchups. I just want to go back to how this year started. And it started opening day. I got to go back to the beginning of March of this year. Opening day, the Mets were presented with the World Series rings a year ago. And they get the Cincinnati Reds for a 5-game series. Don Gullett, Tom Seaver, and too many Cincinnati Red home runs on opening day a year ago. Not a year ago, the beginning of this year. And Gullett beats Seaver 6-3 in Game 1 of that 5-game series. We'll take you through the whole thing. Game 2, Matlock against Dick Bosman, and the Mets bury Bosman 15-3. Bosman was brought in as an expensive free agent because he could pitch on 3 days rest, and the Reds were looking for some stability behind Gullett. And quickly, in his debut for his new team, it blows up. And Matlock, who's been the best pitcher for the Mets the last couple of years, gets a win, so the series is tied. Then when you go to Cincinnati for games 3 and 4, it's pretty much similar results. You have Jerry Koosman on the road against Gary Nolan. Very good pitcher. Both guys pitching to the 8th inning, but the Mets win 4-1 with homers by Mays, Kranepool, and Dave Marshall. 4-1 victory as Jerry Koosman has one of his best performances of the year against Gary Nolan. So now the Mets are back up, but in Game 4, in a back-and-forth series, Jim Bunning, the number 4 starter for the Mets, struggles. And he was signed in the draft. Originally, the Mets have Gary Gentry to be the number 4 starter. They were looking for a reliever, couldn't find a decent one, but they found Jim Bunning. So they said, well, let Jim Bunning be the starter, make Gary Gentry go in the bullpen. Worst case, if Bunning's bad, Gentry comes in. Well, at least in this opening series, Bunning was bad. Gave up 9 hits and 5 runs in 4 frames. And Ross Grimsley only went 5 1/3. He got knocked around, but the Big Red Machine does Big Red Machine things, 10-6. All tied up at 2, home and away, wins and losses. And Game 5 of this series would determine, ultimately, the number 1 and number 2 seeds in the National League. And we have Gullett-Seaver 2. It's in Shea Stadium again. And this time, Seaver and the Mets prevail 5-3. This win was the difference between the Mets hosting the National League Championship Series and the Reds hosting the Championship Series. They were separated by a half a game, and this was the tiebreaker. The Mets winning this series 3-2. So, with that said, we can now finally see where we are in the National League Championship Series. We'll show you the rotations first. So the Reds, it's 3 games, a day off, and 4 games. And it opens up in Shea. So the Reds will go Gullett, Gary Nolan, Bosman. So it's a kind of a flip of what you just saw in opening weekend. Then a day off, and you have Gullett, Grimsley, Bosman, and Gary Nolan in Game 7. So you got a great edge in Game 7. For the Mets, they were taxed by the Dodgers in the previous series. Jerry Koosman just pitched a Game 7. That means that the big three have to be put on hold for a moment. It's a big two. So Tom Seaver pitches Game 1, but Jim Bunning has to pitch in Game 2. Matlack in 3, a day off, then Seaver on short rest. Then we have Koosman. We could have put Koosman here, but we figure Seaver's better than Koosman. So Seaver, then Koosman, then Matlack. But then in Game 7, it's a second start for a number 4 starter. This might not be Jim Bunning. We could make it Gary Gentry. You know, I'll just put it in question marks here. Could be Gary Gentry there, if we're unhappy with how Bunning performs in a Game 2. So, let's see. Game 1, we've seen this matchup twice already. This is the third matchup in Game 1 in Shea Stadium for the third time. Don Gullett's used to this by this point. Don Gullett versus Tom Seaver in Game 1, and the bats start early for the Reds. A homer for Lee May. Then in the third inning, 4 singles off of Seaver, and it's 3-0. Then in the fourth inning, a walk, a single, sac fly, walk, double, ground out. They are all over Tom Seaver early in the National League Championship Series, and it's 6-0. And you get the feeling that the Mets are a little flat after that long taxing series with the Dodgers, and you get the feeling that the Cincinnati Reds are kind of a team of destiny that hasn't won that World Series yet, the elusive World Series, and they are a hungry bunch. So with it 6-0 in the fourth inning, the Mets say, heck with that. A walk to Willie Mays, a single by Clendenon, an RBI single by Duffy Dyer. After a couple ground outs, a 2-run double by Ted Martinez. This is a 6-3 game. But Don Gullett and Seaver settle down, and it is the Red bullpen coming into play in the 8th and 9th inning. Wayne Granger throws a scoreless 8th. The lefty Strickland and Clay Carroll is only asked to get 1 out to get a save. And the Mets, their last 7 batters do not reach. And once again, Gullett beats Seaver in the first game of a series by a score of 6-3. It may have even been the same score. So, as far as home and away, you get the notion that both of these teams can win on the road ultimately. And maybe this is a series where the home team gets screwed all the time. Who knows? But Game 2, we know it's going to be Jim Bunning. And this is a huge, huge moment here for the New York Mets. They have their worst starting pitcher pitching against the Big Red Machine, in danger of going down 0-2 at home. And now, the incredible Game 2. Here we go. Right out of the box, Bobby Tolan walks. Pete Rose jacks a 2-run homer. Bottom of the first inning, right fielder Frank Johnson. He was a San Francisco Giant in 1970. The Mets signed him a couple years ago to be a corner defensive replacement. He platoons with Dave Marshall. He hits a solo homer. 2-1 Reds. Jim Bunning has to settle down, but he doesn't. In the third inning, we get 3 singles, and an RBI single and a double play by Bench, and that's 4 runs now off of Bunning. And now the Mets are thinking, let's get in this bullpen. We cannot go down 0-2. But in the fourth inning, Bunning's still out there. A walk, a couple ground outs. So with 2 outs, Bunning just needs 1 more out. He cannot get it. A single, a walk, and then he's about to be pulled. But Bunning's better against righties. So he pitches to Tony Perez. He gets a single. Bobby Tolan tries to score from second on the single, rolls a 20 and gets thrown out at the plate. So that is a tremendous break for the Mets as the inning ends and Bunning is gone after 4 innings. So we've seen this now twice. Same thing happened in Game 2 in the regular season, or Game 4 in the regular season. Bunning only got through 4 innings. Only gets through 4 innings today, meaning that he'll probably not pitch again in this series, we don't think. It is 6-1 at this point. Then in the 5th inning, the Mets gamble with their bullpen. They bring in their righty setup guy, Cy Acosta. Normally he comes in the 8th inning. He comes in the 5th inning. Maybe it's too early. He gives up a walk double and a sac fly, and now it is 7-1, and hearts are fading fast into New York. But we go to the bottom of the 5th, and the Mets get it cranked up. Wayne Garrett single, Frank Johnson walk, Cleon Jones single, a 2-run single by Ed Kranepool, a sac fly by Willie Mays, and then Don Clendenon with a 2-run homer. And the Mets rally back to make this a 7-6 game. Gary Nolan is stunned. Then in the 6th inning, Frank Johnson again hits a home run. He would go 3 for 5 today with a couple home runs. This game is tied at 7, and the Reds have let a golden opportunity slip out of their hands. Or so we think. We're up 7-1. Mets come back and tie it at 7. And you can see these are heavyweights, folks. You're never out. Neither of these teams is ever out of anything. So it's going to be a battle of bullpens now. 7-7. And we got some really talented pitchers in here. Danny Frizella, inning and 2/3 shutout. So Tug McGraw is brought in the 8th. Pedro Borbon is brought in the 8th. 3 scoreless frames for each guy. We get into the 11th inning. Tug McGraw, his 4th inning of relief. He's a relief 4. Bourbon's a relief 4. We get an out by Concepcion and out by Tolan. Then Pete Rose hits a ground ball to Ted Martinez, a 3-second baseman. Cannot get his glove on the ball. It is a single, and then with 2 outs, who else? Tony Perez. 2-run homer in the top of the 11th inning off of Tug McGraw, who I think he's pitched 4 innings in relief like 2 other times, and it's been scoreless. So this is the first time he's ever given up a run when he's pitched 4 innings. That's a 2-run homer and 12 innings of relief work covering 3 appearances. 9-7, and then once again in the bottom of the inning, it's Strickland and Clay Carroll getting an easy save. Clay Carroll only has to get 1 or 2 outs to collect the save, and he does. And this is actually heartbreak for the New York Mets. They were dead in the water in this game, rallied, tied it, couldn't complete the comeback, and oh my goodness. But they are the Mets. They are the world champion. And the Reds have been notorious front runners, and they have to finish this thing off, or can they? We go to Game 3 in Cincinnati. They need to win 2 out of 3 to go to the World Series. In Game 3, it's John Matlack for the Mets, the best pitcher for the Mets the last 2 years, against big game Dick Bosman, or so we think. He was brought in as a guy who could pitch on 3 days rest to pitch behind Gullett, because nobody else can do it on this team. Nolan can't, nor can Grimsley. And so they need Bosman to give you 6 or 7 if you can, not to mention that the bullpens worked a lot in Game 2. Matlack will probably go the distance to give the Met bullpen some rest. It doesn't look good early for the Mets. Bottom of the 3rd, a single by 161 hitting John Vukovic, getting a rare start. Oh, by the way, he's hitting 300 this year for the Reds. He's got a 161 Strat-O-Matic card. It's hitting 300. That's not going to help the rest of the National League. And who else? With 2 on and 1 out, Tony Perez, 3-run bomb. It's 3-0 Cincinnati. Back-to-back doubles by Concepcion and Helms in the 4th. It is 4-0. And once again, the Mets are in precarious position here. But in the 5th, Jerry Grody leads off with a homer. After 2 outs, a single, a double by Willie Mays. It's 4-2 now. The tying and a walk to Dave Marshall. Bases are loaded, 2 outs for Clendenon. Tie run at second, lead run at first. Clendenon strikes out. It stays 4-2. Bosman's almost knocked out of the game. Bottom of the 6th. Matlack has a very curious line here. He would strike out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He would get 7 consecutive strikeouts between 3 singles, if that makes any sense. So he strikes out the side in the 5th, gives up 3 singles, then strikes out 4 more guys. But those 3 singles are to Concepcion, Helms, and some guy named Ken Suarez. Who? Ken's the backup catcher for Johnny Bench, probably the least used player in the National League. He gets a big single here, and that is 5 runs for the Reds, 2 for the Mets. So the Mets, beyond dire straits. The plane is crashing into the mountain for the New York Mets. They've got to do something. Cleon Jones leads us off the 7th with a double. Ed Kranepool gets a single, and it's 5-3. The tying runs will be Willie Mays, Dave Marshall, and Don Clendenon. Bosman, one more batter breaks him, but Bosman's going to stick this thing out because they're up 2-0. He strikes out Mays, 2 flyouts, and Bosman survives the 7th. On the ropes, puts his gloves up, bell rings, standing A count. Matlack continues, finishes his start. We get into the 8th inning. After 2 outs, Bosman gives up a double to Ted Martinez, and then Wayne Garrett, a lefty, is up, and the Reds aren't taking any chances. Bosman's finally taken out after 7 2/3. The Reds need to get 4 more outs to go up 3-0 in the National League Championship Series. So, they bring in the lefty Strickland. The Mets pinch hit Duffy Dyer, a right-hander. He strikes out. In the 9th, after an out, once again, Clay Carroll brought in for an easy save. He only has to get 1 or 2 outs to get a save. He gets an out, and he strikes out Willie Mays to end the game, and the Reds win another game by a score of 5-3. It is the Cincinnati Reds having all the answers in this National League Championship Series. A stunning 3-0 advantage over the world champion New York Mets. And that sets up Game 4, a chance for a sweep. However, I'll broadcast every game until we have a champion, which means I could be up here all night. If the Mets were to stun the world and rip off 4 straight wins, I will have a very sore throat. But I will broadcast the whole mess. So we'll start in game number 4. After a day off, we are still in Cincinnati, but we are back to the top of the rotations. It's Tom Seaver for the Mets, Don Gullett for the Reds. This is game 4. Let's get started. Leading off for the Mets, it will be Cleon Jones. 640, game 650, yeah. Cleon Jones, 2-6 for Cleon, is a base hit. There has been no stolen base attempts in this series because of the -3 and 4 arms of Grody and Bench. Speaking of Grody, he's up to the plate. Jerry Grody. 67 off Gullett is a single to left field. Cleon, a 16 runner. Carbo with a -3 arm, so no, he'll stay put at second. 2 on for Willie Mays. 2-5 is a K. Don Clendenon. 1-2. Oh boy. Foul out to catcher plus injury. Oh boy. Let's take a look at the Clendenon card. This is the card the Mets did not want to lose against Gullett. The most killer against left-handed pitching card the Mets have. And now it's gone. And they lost the first baseman. Oh boy. He's down on the... Okay, let's see. Who can we bring in here? You know, it won't be Kranepool because he can't hit left-handed pitching. It's going to be Dave Marshall. And believe it or not, Frank Johnson can play first base as a 325. I even think Willie Mays might be able to play center field too. No, he can't. Yeah, Willie Mays can play first base if I need him to, but he won't. So the right fielder, Frank Johnson, will be the new first baseman, and Dave Marshall will be the new right fielder. So, 2 on and 2 outs, and now it is Duffy Dyer. 54 off of Gullett is a sky to right field. We go to the bottom of the first. It's Bobby Tolan of the Bells. 37 is a walk, double-A stealer. Does he try it now? He hasn't tried it all series, but he's going to try it now because they're up 3-0. And he rolls a 6 and steals a base. That's what you could do when you're up 3-0 in a series. You can have some fun and try and embarrass your opponent. At least early on you can. So, Tolan steals second base, and it's Pete Rose. 57 is a K. It'll be Tony Perez. 410 off Seaver, short X. Bud Harrelson made an error in this series. He's only made 2 errors in the last 2 years. So 1E17 at short, and that is a ground out. Would have been a double play had Tolan not stolen. So that'll be Johnny Bench. 2-5, grounds to third. Scoreless, top of 2. Ted Martinez. 39, skies the left. Bud Harrelson, 35, rolls to short. Bobby Heiss, 39, grounds to short. Bottom of 2. Lee May, 35 is a walk. Bernie Carbo, 69 is a second X. This is Mr. Ted no, it's Bobby Heiss playing second today against a lefty. As Martinez plays third with Garrett on the bench. So it's Heiss' defense. He is a 2, but he's an E34. 2, E34, and that is a GBA. Nice play by Bobby Heiss. And with 2 outs, Ted Savage. 39 is a walk. And it's Concepcion, 6'11 off of Seaver, third X. Now, I just said Martinez moves over to third, where he's a 3E33. And I gotta put 33 in there. It's a GBC. Lucky break for the Mets. An E34 third baseman would have made an error, but you have to put the proper result in. He's better than that. He's an E33. That's how we use that double jeopardy rule there. Top of the third, Frank Johnson. 59, bounces to short. This is Concepcion at 2E21, makes the play. Cleon Jones. 45, rolls a second. Jerry Grody, 6'11, left X. This is Mr. Carbo, a 3E7 in left field. And he makes the grab. Bottom of the third, Tommy Helms. 2-3, short. Bobby Tolan, 59, second C. Pete Rose, 56, is a K in Seaver after the walk and stolen base has settled down. He's doing what he needs to do here. He's got to win this game over Gullett. He's a starter 9. Gullett's only a starter 7. So the Mets do have that advantage. Willie Mays, 58 off Gullett, second X. Bud Helms, a 1E10, makes the play. Now you have Dave Marshall, a left-handed batter, in there for the injured Clendenon. 65 off of Gullett. As a lefty, it's double 1 of 12, and it's a 2-base hit. Nice hitting for Dave Marshall. It'll be Duffy Dyer. 6'10 off of Gullett. Short X. Concepcion is a 2E21 at short. He makes the play. Runner at second, 2 outs for Ted Martinez. 56 is a K. We go to the bottom of the fourth. It's Tony Perez. 58 is a K. You know, a good game for Seaver against a team like this would be 2 or 3 solo homers, and that's it. Maybe just 2 solo homers, and the Mets get 4 or 5 runs. Seaver would almost accept something like that. And that's how he lost on opening day when the Reds had 5 solo homers. Johnny Bench, 37, triple 1 of 2 is a single. Lee May, 66, double 1 of 2 off the Seaver card, and that's a flyout. That's what you get when you got a 1.76 ERA. And with 2 outs, Bernie Carbo. 310 is a K. Haven't showed any offensive cards because we haven't had any offense. So the fireworks are saved for the second half of this game, we think. Top of the fifth. Bud Harrelson leads off. 66 off of Gullett. Double 1 of 5 is a base hit for the A's stealer. Do you try some chicanery here to get something started with Bob Heiss and Frank Johnson up? I don't think... Jeez. Bobby Heiss doesn't hit in the double plays, and he's got doubles on his card. And Gullett is ordinary against right-handed batters anyway. He's really good against lefties. I'm going to swing away. Bobby Heiss will swing away. 37, and that's a base hit on a ground ball short A+ because you had the guy held on, you didn't steal the base, and hit it through the hole, and it works to perfection for the Mets. You got runners in the corners, nobody out. Frank Johnson. I think you bring the infield up with runs at a premium here. going for that elusive sweep anyway. So they're bringing the infield up with nobody out. I normally do it with 1 out. I usually don't with 0, but heck, the Reds are trying to go to the World Series, so you can understand. Frank Johnson, the batter. 1-5 is left to be question mark. This is Harrelson. You know he's going to run. 16, 17, 18. It's going to be tight because Carbo's got a -3 arm. So that's a 15 result, which means Harrelson's going to try it. Here is the, we'll look here for advance. He needs a 15 or better. He's a 19, and Bernie Carbo guns down Bud Harrelson at the plate with runners in the corners and nobody out in the 5th inning. This is your home field advantage, folks. He's got to run. If you had second thoughts and said, hey, maybe you should hold up. Bernie Carbo's got a great arm. Well, I don't have that luxury for the road team, unfortunately, for the Mets. It is a 7-7-2 double play. And you have Heiss at first with 2 outs now for Cleon Jones. 2-8 is a grounder to short, and the inning is over. Heartbreaking result there for the Mets. Let's go to the bottom of the 5th. Pause for a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
Okay. Bottom of the 5th. I would not have thought a game would be scoreless, unless, of course, it is Seaver and Gullett. Then, it makes a little bit of sense. But these two teams don't normally play scoreless games. They're almost impossible to shut either of these teams out. Bottom of the 5th, it'll be Ted Savage leading off for the Reds. 55 off Seaver is a K. Dave Concepcion, 2-2, fouls to the catcher. And with 2 outs, it's Tommy Helms. 2-11 is a pop to second base. Mr. Seaver with a 1-hitter doing what he needs to do in Game 4. And if the Mets were able to pull off the remarkable, Seaver could pitch in Game 7. Probably not a lot of innings. It'd be on 2 days rest, but he would certainly go back out there. Wow, that could be a wild Game 7. Don't want to put myself too far ahead. There's a lot of work to be done for these Mets who haven't even scored. We go to the top of the 6th inning. Scoreless game, basically. The Mets have put 1 more batter on base than the Reds. Bad base running mistake, and it'll be Jerry Grody leading off in the 6th. 2-4 grounds the 3rd. Willie Mays, 45, rolls to second. And with 2 outs, it's Dave Marshall. 1-8 is a K, and the Mets cannot do anything off of Gullett. Bottom of the 6th, top of the lineup, it is Bobby Tolan of the Bells. 1-4, skies the ray. Pete Rose, 57 is a K, and with 2 outs, it's Tony Perez. 57, another K for Seaver, a masterpiece. Well, got 3 walks, but whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strikeouts and 6 shutout innings for each squad. A very tight atmosphere here. The Reds, seemingly on the brink of going to the World Series, are also beginning a colossal choke. You're not sure what is going to happen. Top of the 7th, it's Duffy Dyer for the Mets. 1-11 for Dyer, skies to center field. Ted Martinez, 46 off Gullett, flies to left, and with 2 outs, it's Bud Harrelson. 67 off Gullett is a single to left field. Ace Steeler, -3 arm. We finally try a steal here. Let's try a steal off of Grody. And that didn't work. He rolled a 12. But you have to start making some uncomfortable decisions if you're down 0-3 and Harrelson gets thrown out on a 12. Stretch time in Cincinnati in Game 4 of the National League Championship Series. It is a scoreless game. We have been enjoying the Brothers Isley. The Isley Brothers 69 LP. I turned you on, and feels like the world. Great cuts by the folks from Ohio, hailing from Ohio, the Isley Brothers. Back to the game. Bottom of the 7th for Seaver. He could go 10 if needed, but he'll deal with Johnny Bench leading off. Future battery mate, right? 1-5 for bench. Let's take a look at a card. I haven't looked at one in, I can recall all game. 1-5. Johnny Bench with a clean double to center field. And that's how the Reds get this thing started. Lee May. Yeah, he's on a bunt. No, just kidding. Second hit of the day for the Reds. Bench at second. Good base runner. Lee May is the batter. The pitch to Lee May. 1-5 is a K. Back-to-back 1-5s. Now you got Bernie Carbo. 57, another strikeout on the Seaver card. Down with 2 outs, it's Ted Savage. Let's take a look at this guy. He was brought in from the Milwaukee Brewers in 1970. Ted Savage and hit .279 with 12 homers and about 300 plate appearances. Nice year, nice on-base percentage. Good range, good speed, base stealing. And the Reds do what the Reds do and snooker him away from Milwaukee. Matter of fact, the Reds shouldn't even have a DH. This should be the one National League team where the pitchers have to bat. But anyway, here it is. Big moment here in the National League Championship Series. Lead run at second with 2 outs. The pitch to Ted Savage. 4-10 off the Seavers, a bouncer to Harrelson. A 1-17 shortstop. And an error for Bud Harrelson. This is a, oh boy. Second error of the series, only the third error of this season. Comes at a very horrible time, particularly after Bud got thrown out stealing in the top of the inning. You got runners on the corners, 2 outs. And let's take a look at Dave Concepcion. His 1973 card, where he turns into a 2 shortstop and an ace stealer. Prior to that, he was kind of meh in 70, 71, and 72. But in 73, you could see he would become the Gold Glover, and one of the big reasons they won the series in 75 and 76. So, runners on the corners, 2 outs. The pitch to Dave Concepcion. 6-10 off the Seaver. Second X. This is Heiss. He's a 2E34. And he makes the play, gets the GBA. So the Reds do not score, and the Mets are still alive here. Into the 8th inning. We are scoreless. Bob Heiss leads it off for the Mets. 43 off gullet, flies the right. This is Pete Rose. Yeah, why am I rolling? Pete Rose. He's a 1-2 E1 in right field. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Frank Johnson. 4-8 for Frank Johnson's a pop to short, and with 2 outs, back to the top. It's Cleon Jones, your 1969 hero, using his, let's take a look at Cleon's card. This is a 71 card, so it's 319, but the card looks pretty close to that 340 card he had in 69. Only a C stealer now, and only 14 home runs now. Big moment here for Cleon Jones in the 8th. The pitch. 1-9 is your base hit to right field. It'll be Jerry Grody. Gullet's not in danger of breaking. You have to get 2 more batters to do that. Jerry Grody's the hitter. 38 is a ground ball to short, A+. But I don't hold the C Steelers on, particularly with Johnny Bench catching. And that's just a ground out. Of course, I only been holding, if you've been watching closely through all these years, I'm only holding double A's, A's, and B Steelers. And that is a shame because Cleon used to be a B Steeler a year ago. So we are still scoreless. Bottom of the 8th. Tom Seaver is not giving up, not surrendering here. Tommy Helms leads off. 2-7 is a pop to short. Bobby Tolan of the Bells. 68 off the Seaver card is a K, and with 2 outs. Pete Rose. 67 is a single 1-16 off of Seaver's card. He gets it. B Steeler? No. They're going to let Tony Perez swing here. Here's your probable NLCS MVP, since he has homers in games 1 and 2 and could do something damaging here in game 4. The pitch to Tony Perez. 2-10 though is a sky to center field. Scoreless into the 9th of a game 4. These teams are tight. What did Ferris Bueller say? So tight he'd poop out a diamond or something like that. I can't remember that quote from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but if you remember the quote, use the comment section, folks. 9th inning. Willie Mays leads it off. The guy who was brought in from the Giants in the offseason to bring the Mets a repeat. Let's take a look at the Willie Mays card before he swings. One of the big moments in Game 2 of this series was his injury late in that game. But he's alive now. 291 in 1970 with 28 home runs. He had a 1-8 home run to knock out the Reds in the National League Divisional Series a year ago for the Giants. The pitch to Willie Mays. 6-12 is a sky to right. Dave Marshall, his third at bat for the injured Clendenon. 55 off of Gullett as a ground ball to second, and this will be Gullett's final out. He cannot go 10. Duffy Dyer. The pitch to Duffy. 37. Let's take a look at the Duffy Dyer card, and oh, unfortunately, it's not a good roll. Yeah, a lot of good stuff over there. Homers, doubles, a big triple chance. But he rolled a 3-7. That's double one fly ball. The rest rolls a 3. Doesn't matter. Fly ball the rest. Don Gullett's day is done. Up 3-0 in the series. He throws 9 goose eggs and is wondering why we're not celebrating. The bottom of the 9th. It'll be Johnny Bench, Lee May, Bernie Carbo. All it takes is one long ball to go to the World Series off Tom Seaver. So, the pitch to Johnny Bench. 6-11 off Seaver, bouncer to third. This is still Ted Martinez, a 3E33. It's not an error, a 3E33. That's a single, though, off the range. The 3 range of Martinez gives up the single to Bench. Now you got Lee May. The pitch to Lee May. 2-7. Let's take a look at Lee May's card. 1971. A 278 average and 39 home runs. 2-7 is double 1 to 6. Base hit, ... Runners on the corners, nobody out. Infield has to come up. Boy, I tell you what, man, if the Reds don't win this now, jeez. Runners on the corners, nobody out in the bottom of the 9th. You need a pass ball to go to the World Series. You need a hit by pitch or, yeah, whatever. The infield's up. The batter's Bernie Carbo. Let's take a look at the Carbo card before he swings. Also in 1970. The hits just keep coming for the Cincinnati team. 21 home runs, 369 at-bats, and a .310 batting average with 94 walks. The pitch to Bernie Carbo. 65 off the Seaver card. Double 1 of 4. The Reds, the Cincinnati Reds, have swept the New York Mets. 4 straight games and are going to the World Series. Would not have thought this would have been possible. And a dejected Tom Seaver. Oh, what a horrible way for his year to end. But his card will come back next year. And the Cincinnati Reds will face the Oakland A's in the World Series. A 4-game sweep. Stunning. The Reds had the early advantage in Game 1, and the Mets fought tough in the next 3, but just couldn't get the big hit when they needed it. Don Gullett, 7-hit shutout. 3 strikeouts in a complete game. Tom Seaver, 6 hits, 3 of them in the 9th inning. He just ran out of gas, the whole Met team. They were trying to do the improbable. And this was the problem with the Mets. They had not lost a series all year. And you have to go all the way. You have to win everything. Because when you win every regular season series, every postseason series, you don't have room for error after that. You lose, you're done, and that's what happened. The Mets kind of, you know, they fall into like the franchise, the Seattle. Remember when Seattle won like 114 games and didn't go to the World Series? I forget what year that was. It was a real tough way for the Mets season to end. They actually played better this year than last year when they won the World Series. Let's finish the line for Seaver. Put 9 men on base. 1009, 0108, 1607, 03, 310, 310, 03. In Game 4, a 4-game sweep for the Cincinnati Reds. They did it by starting it on the road And in this World Series, I have to go and look back to who is going to be hosting it, the American League or the National League. I don't know yet. I'll have that during the World Series preview video I make. I don't have that answer right now. I have to research it more. But the Reds, with a 4-game sweep, are 31-12 with the best overall record now. They're going to be hosting this thing. They'll host the Oakland A's. 31-12, 19 games over 500. My goodness. Hitting .279 with a .363 ERA. Tony Perez hit 18 home runs, Lee May 10, Johnny Bench 10. Heck, Pete Rose hit 5 home runs for this team. Gullett won 8, Bosman did win 6, Nolan won 7. So they're getting it from, and of course Clay Carroll had 13 saves, giving up 3 runs in 18 innings. Kind of underused, you could say. For the Mets, the best record in baseball, loses its last 4 games. And finally, for the first time in 2 years, they look mortal. They look like a normal team. Finished the year, they hit .280. They were hitting .300 at the All-Star break, but they finished hitting .280. The ERA is .332, which for this team is high. Seaver and Matlack finished with 8 wins, but Kuzman and Bunning only had 7 combined. Looking at the Clendenon did hit 12 home runs. He did get injured in that game we just saw. Willie Mays got injured in this series. That's just some tough breaks. Willie Mays had 9 homers and 35 RBIs. He will come back, or his contract is up, but they could sign him to a 71 card. So 27-16. Let's put this up here now on the board. Cincinnati and the Mets. Cincinnati 4-0, 31-12, and the Mets 27-16. So this is 19 plus 14, and this is 11 plus 7, and then this is Oakland at 14 over 500, and the Reds at 19 over 500. Wow. Yep, just 2.5 games separate the team. So there it is. Cincinnati's 31-12 record will host the 31-17 record of the Oakland A's. The Mets finished the year 27-16, but that's a 4-game losing streak. They were 27-13. Way up here, you see there were 15 games over 500, and then they lose 4 straight. So now they're just 11 over 500. And the White Sox were 9 over. They lost -3. 4-1. So they should be. This should be a 6, right? This must not have been a 9. Anyway, there it is. The Oakland A's and Cincinnati Reds will play in the World Series. I will have a World Series preview coming up. Thanks for checking this out. Congratulations to the Cincinnati Reds. Do they get over that hump and finally bring home the trophy? They've been to the World Series before. It didn't work out very well. Now they have to try and buck history and beat the Oakland A's this time. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you next time.